Welcome, everybody, to the National Train Show of 2023. And as you can see, I'm not there. I'm actually safe and sound in New Hampshire. However, we didn't go empty handed. It was about time, I think. It's been a while since the guys have been out on the road, and I didn't want to just take that all for myself. So I was going to go ahead and say, hey, you know what? Can we spring one of the guys loose and let them have some FaceTime with you all. So, believe it or not, I have Yannick, and it looks like he is at the show. I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. And he says he's Mark, but that's not Mark. That is the one, that is the only, that is Yannick. How you doing, Yannick?
It's Mark's computer. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right, sorry about the lighting and whatnot. We have a really jury-rigged setup to get this to work. But yeah, I'm here in Houston at the National Train Show, and here at the Athearn booth. It's a great show so far. We wish you were here, Jim.
Yeah, I'm going to miss out on seeing all the cool stuff because really, honestly, you guys that are at the show get to see the AC 4400s before I do. I've just seen the pictures. So, I mean, what do you think, Yannick?
Yeah, well, I'm on the laptop here, so it'll be a little bit awkward. But I'll try and take you guys over, take a look at them here. There you go.
Oh, wow. That looks amazing.
And we'll get detailed pictures of these up soon, too. But you got
I want that one and that one.
CSX, SP, KCS. You got my favorite, the CEFX. And then, of course, you got the Prime for Grime SP here, or UP patch out. Nice. And that's just looking great so far. Few revisions on the colors for that one coming. But
that's great.
Good so far.
I don't recognize you out of your office. It's good to have you on the road. And you know what?
It's good to be back at the show, yeah.
Yeah, I bet. One of the other things too is, and shout out real quick. Thanks James and Randall, Scott, Todd, Steve, Fernando, Austin. Thanks for joining us, because not only do we get to see Yannick out of his office, but we get to see the show a little bit, and we have somebody else that's going to join us. I'm going to say he's the man of the hour because we've got some announcements, don't we?
Yeah, we got some new stuff to show off. That's what I heard.
So let's go ahead and bring on the man that never sleeps, the man that has got ideas like you wouldn't believe and is an absolute awesome modeler. I'm going to bring on John next. So let's add John. Hey, John, how's it going?
Howdy, good. Nice. Thanks for the introduction. It's just like you to say I'm the man of the hour and I have half hour to do it in.
Yeah, that's after taxes. Well, John, thanks for joining us, because I know how busy you are, and in a minute we're going to see just how busy you and Yannick have been. You've got some stuff to show us, and let me know where you want to start first, John.
Yeah, I wish I could be there in Texas, but family vacation starting tomorrow, so I'm going to take some time and see the folks. The product development team's been pressing on like crazy, and we have lots of projects in the works, which we thought we would share. 3 brand new projects. There's going to be 2 N-scale offerings, 3 HO scale offerings, and you're not going to want to miss the last one. We're really excited about the last announcement. But let's start with our N-scale freight car. So we are offering for the first time in plastic the Berwick built bathtub gondola. This is a brand new tooled project for us. We're going to have 3 versions of this car to cover the different variations and grab ladders on it. We're really excited about this because this car would usually run in 100-unit coal trains. They had long life beyond the coal trains, a lot of different paint scheme variations, and it's not something that has ever been offered in N-scale before. So, new tooling in N-scale.
Very nice. That's pretty exciting because, you know, we get a lot of guys, as you know, John, they're asking for N scale, and this is one of the things you've been working on.
Yeah, and if anyone's at the show in Texas, I sent a large collection of N-scale samples there. We have the newly tooled Bethgon coal porter, so another coal car. The new 45-foot Fruhoff trailers are there as well.
How you doing? Pretty good.
Genix showing them. We have the N-scale 13K acid tank car, which we did show off at Springfield early this year. But if you're in the southern states, you probably haven't seen that in person. And I also sent some of our test shots of our F89 flat car, which we've upgraded to Genesis, so you can see the beautiful detailed grab iron or coupler cut levers and train line hoses, which are delicate but beautiful to see. I should say delicate, but they're actually pretty solid. They look delicate.
Very nice. And Janet, just to let you know, I kind of muted you since we got some background noise, but if you need to say something, just throw your hand up there and I'll put your mic back on. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's a brand new car for N-scale with 3 variations of the Bethgon. I'm sorry, the Berwick Bathtub coal car. There is a 4th option, and this is going to be brand new in HO scale. So Jim, let's go to that version.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So we are offering for the first time in both N and HO a let's call it a rebuilt Berwick bathtub with extended size. So as these cars were eliminated out of coal service, they moved into trash and recycling service. So trash cans for recycled metals, you'd see them at scrap yards. So we have tooled a brand new body in HO scale for this, and we're also going to offer an N scale. Not only is it this body newly tooled, but we've actually retooled all the HO scale versions as well. So all new tooling on HO from a car we've offered in the past, all new, brand new tooling for N scale. We've added some additional details to the HO scale version. There's additional train line piping that hasn't been seen before. I always like to connect those air tanks to those control valves. That's a really nice detail there.
Very nice.
Besides the extended sides on this trash scrap gon, they also had to reinforce these cars because when you dump scrap into a hopper or a gondola, they tend to be kind of rough on them. So they reinforce the top cord with additional gussets. There's additional bracing on the ends. And then there's a belly band. They've put a reinforcement around the bottom middle of the car. And all those features are going to be available in both HO and N.
Wow.
These were rebuilt in the early 80s, about 1981. And I would say they're still going strong, but any car in scrap service 40 years later, they're still going. But if you like prime for grime, these are the cars to work on. You can beat these up and grime them up, and they would look perfect.
Wow, that is awesome. And you know, kind of looking at the comments that we got going on here, yeah, a lot of people are really happy. I know the N scale guys would be happy. Yeah. And you know, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for. I know you've got a bunch more too. We talked about these before the show. John, do you want to see if anybody's got any questions on these 2 new cars, and then we'll go on to the next project?
Yeah, let's do a question here. I want to be cognizant of time and get to my last final super top secret project I've been working on.
Yeah, let's see what we've got here. A lot of great comments so far. Don't see any actual questions on that,
Yeah.
So I know you
So
were pressed.
I see there's a question about circus peanuts. N scale, you get half a circus peanut in there. HO, you'd probably get 2. The Berwick Bathtub Gondola was a 4,200 cubic foot car, and when they added the extensions, these are now 6,100 cubic feet.
Yeah, I
So
keep
a
forgetting that
very
unit
tall
of
car.
measure. Yeah, absolutely. I keep forgetting that unit of measure, the circus peanuts.
I used to work in the outdoor industry, and we'd always measure backpack volume with ping pong balls.
Nice. All right. So definitely some cool stuff there.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take us next, John?
Well, I think we should introduce our very next HO and N scale Genesis Caboose.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
These are gorgeous.
we have teased this. I thought the ad was rather clever. And did you miss it? This is the Union Pacific CA11 class caboose. This is the very last new caboose that Union Pacific ordered from the International Car Company. They took delivery of 100 of these in 1979. And if you do your math, that puts them still on the road today. The CA11 was Union Pacific's first bay window caboose. They had borrowed a home-built caboose from the Missouri Pacific because as cars got taller and taller in exceeding height, they couldn't see the train anymore from a cupola. And being that high off the ground, the cabooses would rock, and the ride was kind of rough, and it was hard to get up and down the cupola. The Union Pacific really decided that bay windows were the better option. You could see down the length of the train. It was safer to move around in the caboose. And these cars were really designed for crew comfort. We are doing many variations of this. This is the as delivered CA11. They are going to be equipped with lots of options. We're going to have sound like we have in our other Genesis cabooses for the HO scale version. We're going to have a lot of lights. Besides interior lights and the marker lights, which I apologize for my rendering. The one should be red, one should be green. We're also going to have porch lights. And I don't know if you can go to a 3/4 or a side view there, Jim.
Okay.
The porch lights are in the very corner of the roof. So we have lit those. And those porch lights were to illuminate the steps for getting on and off. Rotating bearing caps, fully underbody detailed interior, and we're doing a full interior on these cars, not just seats. So you're going to see closets, radio equipment, the lavatory. These have very large porches, which the crews liked because they could stand there. Lots of room to move around while they inspected passing trains or grabbing train orders off of hoops. You didn't have to worry about falling off the caboose. Bent wire grab irons, rubber train line hoses, and more details. I've been working pretty hard on these. We also have a brand new truck underneath these, as the caboose truck that Union Pacific was using up until this point was no longer available. They now have the 70-ton National swing motion trucks under them, which with all the improvements that Union Pacific made to these, the crews reported that these ran like a first-class passenger car. They're really nice and smooth. They had 15-inch hydraulic cushion draft gears, reduced slack action. So very premium cars.
Wow. And I mean, both HO, both N scale, and Genesis. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Now the N scale one, we're not going to be able to light or add sound to it, unfortunately. But we are going to have lots of details. It's going to be a beautiful car at N scale.
Wow. No, this is definitely upping the caboose game. This is really cool.
Yep. Let's go to what Union Pacific did next with these cars. So after they delivered them, with feedback from the crews, the Union Pacific decided to modify these cars and make some additional improvements.
All right. Let's go to the modified one, right?
There we go.
There. Nice.
So we're also going to offer the CA11 Modified, also known as the CA11A class. Some of the things that they've changed about this caboose, a lot of the changes were internal, moving equipment racks so that they were out of, they did a little bit of obstruction of view on the inside, putting footrests in, and some other details that most modelers don't care about when you look from the outside of a caboose. The external changes, they changed the steps. The steps were a little bit difficult to mount on the original, so they've changed the steps on these cabooses. They also added some additional grab irons around the door, which makes a lot of sense as you're trying to go through a caboose that's moving down the tracks. And this one, it's really hard to see in our renderings, and if you've looked at photos, it's honestly hard to see there too, but the porch supports are angle iron in the original car, and they had sharp corners, and crews were banging themselves up on those. So they actually boxed in those supports partially to about head height. And we're going to be able to offer that variation also on these cars.
Wow. I think I got a side view of this too. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And then Union Pacific took these improvements and decided to build the next class of caboose. They took one of the CA11s and they created a prototype called the CA12. This is a yet even slightly different car. It has the modified step wells, the grab irons around the doors. They took the end railings and they pushed them out further away from the car, make them easier to grab. They added some vents to the bay windows to get some more fresh air in for the crew. And then they moved the marker lights that were on the caboose body to the end of the porch, which we are still lighting in this version. And they added shields to those step lights so that when you sit in the bay window, you're not blinded by that. And I think my rendering here is actually missing that detail, but those will be on the CA12.
Wow.
So we've shown you the CA11, CA11A Modified, and the CA12. I see a question about the keyed detailing on the draft gear. That is present. We are going to do that.
Okay, so that is confirmed. That will be there. Awesome.
Yep. Union Pacific placed an order for 100 of these CA12s, but then they inherited bay window cabooses from the Rock Island, which they classed as CA13s, and they decided they didn't need these. So only one of these cabooses was ever built. But it takes its place in history, and it was easy for us to make a few modifications to build it. So for those that want the iconic CA12 caboose, you're not going to be able to find it anywhere else.
That's amazing. Wow. Definitely going to be a lot of people ordering these. These are amazing.
Yeah. So there's additional variations of this car. In modern times, like I said, these cars are still around. A lot of them have been used as pushing platforms or shoving platforms. Board up the windows, blank them out, and use them for your switching maneuvers. So let's go to back into our CA11 variations there, and let's look for the Madeira Flyer.
There we go.
There we go. So out in California, there is a train known as Madeira Flyer, and it has a very long backup maneuver where they have to have crews on a caboose running in reverse. So they have outfitted one of these CA11s with air horns on the roof, an actual bell up there, and they have also added I keep calling them ditch lights, but really they're headlights. If you look right underneath the porch roof there, there's 2 ditch light housings that they're using as headlights. So it has a Nathan K3 on the roof, which this is going to be a fun car to have with sound and lights on, because you can do your long backup.
Oh yeah.
Hey Jim, I think Yannick there's waving his hand.
All right, let's bring Yannick in here. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to blab a bit. That one's my favorite. That was my idea, because I remember sitting trackside one day and I saw that thing going by and I was like, what the heck is that? And like it's blowing the horn and the whole thing and ringing the bell. I'm like, we got to do that one. That's too cool.
And that goes, again, I've said it before at shows and I've said it on lives. I mean, Yannick, you're a hardcore rail fan, so your hardcore rail fanning is producing, yet another Genesis model. So.
Well, don't tell my wife that, but yeah. So. And this will have sound too, so you got to get the sound version on this one.
That's awesome. Yeah. Perfect for those, shelf layouts, those switching layouts.
And being Union Pacific, these all had the big logos on the side. All but 7 of these cars were delivered with the Keep On Truckin' logo. And we're gonna make sure that we offer plenty of those, but also some of the other logos on the side too, if you want one of those 7 oddballs.
That's neat.
So 1979 to present day. And then my favorite are the snow buses. So Union Pacific took the CA11 and modified it into a glorified taxi cab. In the winter, it was really hard to move crews to trains by vehicle. A lot of the roads, you just couldn't get there quick enough. So they put one of these cabooses between 2 locomotives, and they would taxi or ferry crews out to trains on these cars. They have a couple versions of these. This is the enclosed version where they closed in the porch, give you additional space on the inside. They replaced the windows with insulated windows. There's a large propane tank where they would use for heating the cars. There's additional lighting. There's actually a porch light on the center of the roof line, because in the winter it's quite dark. So they wanted to make sure the crews had extra lights. We're going to light those. And then they added MU hoses to these because they're between 2 locomotives in consist. So you had to make sure that you can keep both of your locomotives consisted. So we've added that detail here to the enclosed version.
Wow. And this has never, oh, sorry, John. This has never been done in plastic before, correct?
That's correct. And I'm not sure if it's ever been done in brass either.
Wow.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen anyone scratch build one of these.
That is so cool.
I'm sure I'm wrong, but someone out there built one and said, darn it, Athearn just made it.
Yeah.
And then the last version, not all these cars were enclosed. Some of them remained open. So we have the opened snow bus variant as well, which also includes the MU train line hoses there.
Wow. That is neat. So, a lot of guys, like you were saying earlier, they kind of knew we were working on these because of the ads, but judging by the comments, nobody saw the snow buses coming or the flyer. I mean, this is an awesome release. And then HO and N scale too, which is really, a lot of the N scale guys have been asking for more detailed looking cabooses. So this is going to be great.
Yeah. I think the snow bus is a really fun car to have because it creates that interesting movement on your railroad. You have 2 locomotives and a caboose running through your scene as they run off to ferry crew, and you don't need a full train. It's just something else to add into your operation.
Wow, that is awesome. A lot of good comments coming in on the snow bus. Yeah, that is pretty neat. Yeah, Brian, you probably knew it was coming because of the ad, but you probably didn't know we were going to go this far down the rabbit hole. There's some really cool operational stuff coming up here. I'm going to see if there's any other new comments coming in.
Yeah, so that's N-scale Berwick, Bathtub, and NNHO, and the new extended height scrap guns. A whole handful of Caboose there in the CA11 variants. And you think they're ready for the top secret project?
I think, honestly, John, we're going to blow their minds. Wait, I want to see what Yannick says. Yannick, what do you think about the next?
Well, I have to sit in a corner of the booth here because Mark already put the flyers up. So I'm trying not to show it off. But once you guys start talking about it, I'll walk over and show the whole thing.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and get that queued up for you, John.
Oh, so we are offering in HO scale a brand new locomotive, and I was hoping that I could pull this off. You know, we always say we want to hear from the customers. What do you want? And we like to build what people want. And no one has ever asked for this. No one has ever asked for this until 2 weeks ago. We got one. It's the first time we've ever been asked. It is a locomotive that is very infrequently photographed. I don't think most people know about it. It's never been made before in any scale or in any material, and no one has ever made a locomotive from this locomotive manufacturer before, in fact. So this is a brand new manufacturer for us. It's not seen because it's an industrial locomotive. Located in Greenville, South Carolina, they are the only United States manufacturer of new AC-powered switchers. We are introducing the Republic Locomotive RX 500 AC. Republic has been rebuilding locomotives since 1980s, and the very first RX 500 AC was introduced in 2001. It takes the factory 30 days to build one of these units. It is from the ground up a brand new locomotive. They don't use any recycled or reused parts in these. So it has AC traction motors. It's a Tier 4 locomotive using a Cummins QSX 15 inline 6 4-cycle diesel. It has dynamic braking. Crews love them because instead of your typical AAR stand, it's a throttle. It's a joystick throttle. Just like if you're on a PS5, push right to go forwards, push left to go backwards. With 50,000 pounds of tractive effort, it's the equivalent tractive effort of an SW1200. It's super efficient, uses about 70% less fuel than a typical diesel locomotive, 85% less maintenance because that Cummins basically a crate diesel. The top speed of this thing is 10 miles per hour in real life. So this is a little guy designed to shuffle freight cars around. The reason why there's very few photos of these is because they are not delivered by the railroad. They are actually delivered in two parts, the top and the bottom, on two lowboy semis. And it takes them just a few hours to put them together on site.
Wow.
And then when they are on site, they're typically in an industrial complex behind a fence where rail photographers aren't really allowed to get access to. So there's not a lot of photos of these. There are a lot of these out there, though. These locomotives are found in chemical companies, steel mills, coal-fired electric utilities, food plants, mining companies, paper mills, aggregate operations, oil transloading, refineries, fertilizer plants, aluminum foundries, grain facilities, ethanol plants, and they're exported. These are found in almost all 50 states. They're in Canada, and they've actually sent some to Russia as well.
Interesting.
There are more RX 500 AC locomotives built, and this is going to blow your mind, than this list of commonly requested locomotives. So there's more RX 500 AC out there other than EMD E5s, FL9s, BL2s, TR5s, SW600, SW1504, NW5s, MP15Ts, DH1s, Jeep15Ts, Jeep 28s, Jeep 39s, Jeep 40Xs, Jeep 60Ms, SDP35, SD40As, SDP40s, DD35s, F40Cs, F125s, AM7s, not done, GE23 3-tonners, U28CGs, U30CGs, U34CHs, U36CGs, Pooches, P30CHs, 832 BWHs, P32ACs, Little Joes, U50Cs, BQ23-7s, C30-7As, 8-32s, 8-44 CWs, Big Blow turbines, H1666 Fairbanks Morris Baby Trainmasters, Sealiners, H15-44s, Alco T6s, DL109s, FPA2s, RS27s, RS32s, RS36, C415, Lima Hamilton LS800s, LS1000s, 1200s, 2500s, that cool center cab. There are a lot of these things out there and people just don't know about them. So all those locomotives I just listed are frequently requested, and trust me, we are working on a number of those.
Wow.
But I wanted to bring these here because they are a real locomotive. They're really cool. They are being built with the same Genesis can motor that you're finding in our MP15s that are just being delivered. We have developed a 30-to-1 gearbox on these using helical cut gears. That'll be a first for us. So we'll have slow speed operations and whisper quiet movement. Our MP15s are geared 15-to-1. So these are not going to run in consist with larger locomotives all that well unless you do some crazy speed matching on them. We're putting the top speed of these at about 40 miles an hour, 40 scale miles per hour, even though the prototype's at 10. We all know when you need to get that locomotive out of the way real fast, you want it to scoot. But we're not going to be talking rubber band warp speed here. When we look at our model, we're going to have multiple variations of this locomotive. It's been produced since 2001, so over 20 years of variations coming. So we have multiple handrail options, multiple bodies, an early, an intermediate, and a late body. We're looking at doing some of the obscure cab variations on this. Air horns. A lot of these locomotives were also delivered with a steam whistle. When you're in a factory and you need to make sure people know you're coming, you blow a horn inside of a building and everyone goes deaf. But a steam whistle gets their attention without breaking their eardrums. So that's going to be a cool feature. Internally, well, let's stick with the external. So air horns and steam whistles, they're going to have a fully detailed and lit cab interior. So there's nothing in the cab to obstruct the appearance there. Of course, separately applied wire grab irons, windshield wipers, stainless steel etched steps, rotating bearing caps, all-wheel drive. It's going to be 21-pin decoder equipped. It's going to have a sugar cube speaker in there. And we are working with the factory to get a factory installed capacitor on this locomotive.
Oh, wow.
This locomotive is smaller, shorter than the DDA 40X single truck, to give you an idea of size. When we talk about lights, we of course are going to have the LED headlights, rear lights, ditch lights, which will flash. We have been working directly with Republic Locomotive on the design of this, and they have been feeding us information. Unlike road switchers, where some railroads set it up for the ditch lights to flash on horn blow, this is actually selectable in the cab. You can have constant ditch lights or turn them on the flash all the time. Nice. You're also going to see from us step lights on this locomotive and ground lights. Do you have a side view there?
Let's see. Let's get back to the side view. Maybe the next one.
I think I gave you a 3/4. Yeah. So there's step lights on all four corners. There's also a ground/work light right above each axle on all four corners. Those are going to be lit. We're going to have a rooftop beacon and that cab interior light to show off that detailed cab. So lots of lights on the sky. I know this is a small locomotive. It's going to be perfect for small layouts. In real life, I've seen videos of this little guy pulling 40 plus freight cars, which is more cars than I think a lot of modelers will run on their layout. We're targeting 10 to 15 cars on flat level track. Right now, my diagnostic software on the design says we're coming in about 8 ounces, which is equivalent to a number of 4-axle locomotive models that are out there.
Yeah, man, you have been busy. And you said the Republic's been actually working with you. So these are going to be super accurate, which is why they're in the Genesis line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're going to be headed down to South Carolina to record the sound right off of these. Because unlike most models, most locomotives that have notches, with this Cummins diesel, it's a non-notched locomotive. So it sounds more like the throttle on your diesel pickup truck. You want to go faster? It runs faster.
Wow, very cool. Very cool. They had some other pictures too that we didn't quite get a chance to look at. Here's the end cab. You talked a little bit about the lighting, and you said there's going to be a light in the cab because it's going to have a detailed cab interior. And you also said the size, but just for someone that doesn't know the size of the truck of a DD35, physically, how big is this in HO scale?
Man, you had to ask me that question because I don't remember right now. I've been working on so many things.
Yeah, I know.
Hang on, I'll get that answer real quick here.
And while you're looking for
all right,
that,
there we go.
Oh, you found it.
So,
Good.
pilot to pilot, it's 31 feet 4 inches. It has a 14-foot 6-inch wheelbase.
How many times too, John, had we heard people wanted the little Hustler to come back? This is basically the modern Hustler, but it's an actual locomotive. It's not a fake locomotive.
Yeah, and with a can motor, flywheel, helical gears, and hopefully we'll be able to get that capacitor in there. This should be the locomotive that everyone wants a Hustler to be.
Wow. Yannick, what do you think? Are you going to get a couple?
I think this will be good for shelf layouts and modular guys. And people just want to say a few quick words. I'm seeing a lot of skepticism in the comments about this. And what I want to remind everybody is that just because we're releasing this project here doesn't mean that we're not also working on other stuff that you might be interested in. This might not be for you. There's so many different aspects of the hobby, so many different eras of railroads that you can model. It's impossible to please everybody with just one release.
Yeah, I wish I could go through
for us here. So, sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah. No, I said I wish I could go through the comments and say, "Yep, we're working on that. Yep, we're working on that. That's the next one."
Yeah, exactly.
A couple years down the road. It takes a lot of research to do a locomotive project because there's so many variations, and you don't want to be stuck creating tooling that really limits your ability to cover different regions of the countries, different eras. And the RX 500 being designed from the ground up hasn't had as many changes through the years as, say, an SW 1001, which has lots and lots of changes, and it's going to take lots and lots of tooling to do, but doesn't mean we're not going to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, just for the folks that are joining us for reference, when you do an all-new project like this, I mean, how many man hours do you think you've got in this project alone, if you had to take a guess?
You know, Jim, I don't even keep track anymore. If I can get 5 hours of sleep a night, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said
Yeah, we worked really closely with the manufacturer of these too, so that was a big help for sure. But
Yeah.
a lot of the problems that we face with developers is availability or access to the information that we need, especially for something that's been scrapped, like one of the older locomotives.
Yeah, I mean, I think the three of us would agree too. I mean, we all see the surveys that we send out. We all talk to folks at shows. We see an increase of shelf layouts and smaller switching layouts, and you know, an SD70 ACU is not going to make a great switcher. And we get a lot of feedback that we're always just doing modern 6-axle stuff. So we wanted to give folks a chance to get something that's extremely popular in the prototype world that would allow them to do a modern, smaller switching layout if they wanted to, or if they had a giant layout, they could put this on one of their industries.
Yeah, and as you look at the railroad industry in whole, a lot of the industries, factories, manufacturers, whatnot, that are using old retired railroad locomotives, some of these were built in the 1930s. We're getting up 90 years on a mechanical system, and what do you have to replace it? Well, most of the modern locomotive manufacturers aren't building a small locomotive that would be good for switching. The price tag on this locomotive is very low, and the fuel savings alone can pay for the price of this in just a couple of years to those facilities. So I think as we see, as we go in the future here, in more of those old locomotives, think like SW1s, SW900s, as those are difficulty getting parts, the trouble to keep maintenance as they throw rods and crank houses. These facilities still need switchers, and trackmobiles don't have the power that these things do. They can only push and pull a few cars at a time, whereas these can take entire cuts of cars. I know Duke Energy has a pair of these, and they pull an entire coal train with them.
That's crazy. Looks like Yannick's got some folks in the booth, so he's muted himself here quickly. But I mean, this is and based on his smile, it looks like he's got some happy modelers in the booth. That's a good thing.
Lots of people coming to see the AC4400s and the new flyers that John just went over.
Yeah, and I mean, how's the attendance there, Yannick? Is it pretty busy?
I'll do a quick spin, and keep in mind this is Friday, so
okay.
You got a lot of people that are still working, but I'd say it's pretty busy. I mean,
all right.
People. Sorry,
well, don't lose your voice.
Yeah, don't lose your I probably talked to 30 or 40 people today, and they only opened the doors at 10. So
that's awesome. Well, John, thanks for sharing this. This has been, and honestly, guys, a lot of people are saying Jim's not saying much. Well, a lot of this is the first time I'm seeing this. I mean, both John and Yannick and all of our research guys, they're super busy feeding me information, and some of this stuff is new for me too. So this has been a very enjoyable live feed, and this really shows you what the guys are working on, and there's plenty more. I mean, like I said, John doesn't sleep. Yannick is right there behind him with the research. So much going on behind the scenes right now that we'd love to tell you what we're working on, but we still have more surprises probably coming up the end of the year or so. All right. A couple of guys are asking, John, and it's probably too early to say, but is there any pricing on, say, the Cabooses and the RX500 yet?
It is too early to commit to a price at this point. We're cognizant of retail pricing in the model railroad industry, and it's not what it was 40 years ago. We're trying to make a fair profit as well as letting our retailers make a fair profit, and then make sure that our customers feel like they're getting a good value. So we're trying to add the detail and the features that people want without making these too expensive. I would not expect the CA11s and their variants to be that much more expensive than our other Genesis Caboose offerings that we've had. The RX 500 is going to be a Genesis locomotive price in there. We'll sharpen our pencils as much as we can when we get to the final costing, because we do want people to be able to feel like they're getting a good value out of these. But we're putting a lot of work into them. They're going to be highly detailed, very accurate, and we think they're going to be fun locomotives that people are going to enjoy having on their layout for that little industry switcher, or maybe a short line has decided to replace their power with these, or your proto freelance, or your freelancer, or whatever you want to do. It's your railroad. Make your own rules. Have fun with it. We're just building models that we think our customers will enjoy and will help support the model railroading industry to grow and to prosper.
Yeah, no, that's great. Really appreciate the time, John, to show us what you're working on and show us these cool products. And the timing was perfect. You and Janet got to show the new stuff for everybody and got kind of an exclusive. So I want to thank you for that. Let's see. Well, I think that's it. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say, Janet, you got any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, if you guys are in the area, we're here at the NMRA Convention Center in Dallas. Not the NMRA Convention Center, the NMRA Trade Show in Dallas, Texas. And it's a beautiful day to be inside because it's pretty warm. So stop by if you guys are in the area.
All right. Well, with that, I will let everybody, it is the gateway to the weekend, so a lot of you are getting ready to get into the train room and get some stuff going on. And I want to thank everybody for joining us here today. Thank you for the kind comments, and we will talk to you next time. Until next time, everyone, have a great weekend and enjoy the train show, and high greens, everyone.